Okay, so hey guys, y'all saw my video a while back where me and Quan did a lesson about pentatonic scales, and today we're gonna do another video lesson, and so yeah, bye. Okay, hey guys, so what we're going to talk about today is writing songs and how to work with a melody and how to work with different chords. So I'm going to start off by going over some basic stuff, and then I'm going to move into some more how to use it stuff. So the basic things you need to know today is that most songs have 6 chords in them, or 6 chords that will like naturally go together. 3 majors and 3 minors. This is, I don't want to get too much into the theory today. So let's say that we're doing a song with the chords C, F, and G. We could have these chords in a lot of different orders, right? So this one is acceptable. Another acceptable order would be, and you guys can see what I did there. I just moved the end to the beginning, right? And then we could also have, and we could also have, and we could also have. So there's a lot of things. How many possibilities did I make out of just 3 chords? Are there any others that I didn't get? Yeah, but I think that's it. I think that's all of them. I think that, is that every combination? Cool. Okay, but here's the problem with that, and I'll show this on piano. Tell me if this sounds complete as a song. What do you think? No, doesn't sound full, correct? So the reason why I think it sounds incomplete in this case is not because of the notes sounding good together. If you listen, all the notes actually sound just fine together. Right? Same thing with G and F, or G and C. But the problem is that there's not enough time for it to musically fit with the way that we hear music and the way that we speak. So you can see back over here, all these groups, these are 3 that sound good together, but mostly music works in even numbers. Like there would be 4 chords in a song, right? Or if there are 3, then you would repeat one of them somewhere. So this CGF could be CGFF again. This could be, we just need 1 extra chord. We want, even if there are only 3 different chords, we want 4 measures. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. If that doesn't make sense, put a 2 in the chat. If you like fried chicken, put a 3 in the chat. Okay, so let's redo some of these sample chord progressions where there are 4 measures, even if it's still only 3 chords. And so we could have C, F, G, G, C, F, F, G, C, F. Did I already do that one? I already did that one. So what if we start on C, C, F, G, C, F, C, G, C, G, C, F, C, F, G, C. There's a lot. So you can see all the different orders I put these in. Yeah, makes sense? But you're going to want... That was funny. Okay, yeah. Man, that distracted me. Okay, go ahead and pause. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of different orders that the chords could go in. And as a beginner, the way you might write the song is different than how you might do it after you've written a lot of songs. As a beginner, the way you should write is basically with the guess and check method. And so where I get this phrase guess and check method is actually from my 9th grade algebra teacher. And what she would always say is, she'd say, hey, well, she was annoying. She was a nice lady. But she would say, in algebra, we have to solve algebraically. You can't use guess and check method. Meaning she didn't want us to sit there just guessing the answer and then doing the check to see if it was right. Does that make sense? We had like multiple choice tests, so you'd have 4 answers, and rather than doing how to, like solving the algebra problem, what a lot of, back up, say that again. Rather than solving the algebra problem, what a lot of students would do is that they would look at an answer on the multiple choice and do the procedure for checking your work, rather than doing the procedure for solving it in the first place. And so she'd always say, don't use guess and check. Anyway, that's where I get the phrase. As a beginner, though, in music, it is a great way to do things. And possibly when you're at a very, very advanced level, it again becomes the best way to do things. Just not in the middle. In intermediate, you're going to work a different way. We'll get to that. But as a beginner, yeah, just take some chords, find an order that works good, and then just try to piece the melody into it until it sounds good. If it sounds bad, change it. If it sounds good, leave it. Just keep moving from beginning to end. You'll have a song. Moving forward from that, once you've written 3 or 4 songs that way, you're going to want to start trying to predict good answers in order to save time. Ultimately, this works at first, it might not, but that's where we're going to get into music theory. Okay, so the way that we're going to start using music theory with these is that for each chord, we're going to assign a name and a job that that chord does. These are not things that I just purely made up. These are mostly things that people just instinctively hear on their own in the music, not something arbitrary. Most people will think this, even if you say nothing and you show it to them. So, the 3 vocabulary words that we're starting off with. Tonic, dominant, subdominant. These are the 3 things that a chord can be or do. There's some exceptions to this. Let me do that another day. This is basically true the way I'm saying it. Just, I'm leaving things out for brevity. The tonic is the chord that sets up your song. A song almost always begins on the tonic chord, and it almost always ends on the tonic chord. It sets up the beginning so that you have an expectation of where it will end. And then usually, unless the artist is trying to mess with you, it will end back there to give you a feeling of completion. That's its job. The dominant chord is almost the exact opposite. The dominant chord is the most exciting point that the song builds up to. So you start on a tonic, you do other stuff that builds up the song, do whatever you want, whatever chords. Ultimately, you want to try to end up on a dominant and then use that to go back to the tonic. Yep? Cool. Subdominant is basically just the nothing chord. It's there for supporting the dominant in a way, as a way to develop to get to the dominant, just so that you're not immediately set up, payoff, end. Set up, develop, payoff, end. So let me show you well, let's do this first. Let's assign what we're using as each. The tonic is C. When the tonic, whatever the tonic is, the dominant will be 5 higher, so C, D, E, F, G. And the subdominant will be 4 higher than the tonic, C, D, E, F. Sometimes these are also just numbered. If you haven't picked the key of the song, they'll be numbered like this. One, 4, and 5, specifically with Roman numerals. I know that's unusual if you haven't heard of this before, but bear with me. Let me make that a complete lesson. So, what chord progressions over here are the most likely to just automatically look good? This one, we have tonic, subdominant, dominant. Yeah? So we begin on a tonic, that sets up the song correctly. Then we go to development, good. Go to dominant at the end and really build up on it before returning to the beginning. Looks good to me. What do you think? Cool. Okay, this one, set up, develop, end. This one is probably weak because the development is so much longer than either the payoff or the setup. I'm guessing this one is weak. We'll try that in a little bit to see how it sounds. Very good setup, develop, payoff. This one is good. This one is good. Setup, development, setup again, payoff, probably good. Setup, payoff, setup, development, totally could be good. I think that one is better. But this one is okay. C, F, G, C. This one is also good. Setup, develop, payoff, come home before the beginning of a new measure. This one you hear a lot in a lot more traditional music, like traditional Christian church music, Methodist stuff, hymns. I mean, you hear it all over the place, but I really strongly associate it with that style of music. Cool, cut. Okay, before we move on to trying to write a chord progression for the song, I have two more main things to say. The first one is I want to go through some like bad options and talk about why they're bad and the exception situations where they could work. The second one is I want to talk about how these work with melody, but we'll get to that one. So the first one, bad chord progressions, when they actually would be appropriate. Let's do some of those. So, okay, so this one looks like it could be bad, right? Because it starts on a subdominant, right? So if you tried to just make a whole song out of this, it might feel very, very dumped, like, where is my center, right? The situation where something like this could work really, really good is after this chord progression that I just spoke about, because this one already brings you home. So if you added them to each other, now you've solved the problem that this doesn't begin on the home chord. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. That's going to be pretty much the answer to most of these, is just that at the beginning of the song, as long as the music is going, you don't necessarily have to always reset up the beginning tonic. Cool? So let's see. I'm going to just make up a song right now. So I want C, F, C, G. And because I ended on dominant, anytime you have dominant, you really want the tonic chord coming next. So my second half will begin on C, because it kind of has to. But this time, see, the first time I went to F first, so this time maybe I start on, and I also did 2 in a row at the end. So my first instinct is that I want to do C and then C again, and then F, G. But I don't really like that because I did 2 in a row here, so I have 2 in a row here. I think it's actually going to be too much. It might work, so we'll save it and I'll write this separate. But I think what I would want is C, F, G, G, C. Instead of going to F in the second chord again, that'll make people think it's the same part of the song. So I'm going to go to G here. Then I would have to do F, F. I don't like that for the same reason. I just said I don't want to do 2 in a row in both lines. So in this line, I'll go C, G, C, F. Let me try playing. Let's see how it sounds. Let's try both. Okay. C. You know, that's the one I said would be bad, but I can kind of see how that could turn into a song. It sounds all right to me. My only apprehensiveness is at the beginning of that line where there's the 2 C's. It seems to drag for a minute, and if that supports the story, I would be fine with it. But if it doesn't support the story, then it seems kind of bad because we built to a section where it should feel exciting, but it doesn't feel exciting either. It would really have to have the correct story to be in the lyrics and the melody to make that work. So okay, second example. Zoom in on that on the board real quick. Just C, F, G, G, C, G, C, F. Okay, let's hear this one. I think that this one is going to end up being a stronger piece. Is it recording? It is? Okay, cool. Oh, okay, I see the light. Sorry, it just like, I saw the record button on the screen and I was like, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, cool. All right. C, okay, so this example is C, F, G, G, C, G, C, F. This is my second attempt at writing for this. You know, I think I'm proven wrong today. The one I didn't like, I think, is better. But that kind of brings me to the next thing I was going to say. Go ahead and pause. Cool. Okay, so what I'm doing is I have basically just admitted that I was wrong. The two that I made up without hearing them, the one I thought would be better was not as good. And luckily, I mentioned a little while ago that I wanted to talk about melody also in this video, and so it doesn't look like I'm just dropping this because I was wrong. But here's the deal, is that there's a lot of things you can do with chords and a lot of things that you can do with harmony. They don't really mean that much unless the melody is there. To be music, you have to have four parts all working together: melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone. And until you have all four, it's just nothing. Now, some of them you can't get rid of. So tone, for example. Tone is the sound of the instrument that you're playing, and every instrument has some sound, and so every song, there's some tone. It just can't exist on its own. Rhythm, every song takes place in time, and to the extent that time moves forward constantly, slowly, there's always some rhythm to any sound or any song. You can't have a song that doesn't have rhythm. The thing about melody and harmony, though, is that on a practical level, you can have only one. What I was playing a little while ago really was only a harmony with no melody to fit with it. At the same time, I could have a melody with no harmony. A good example, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. There's a melody, but there's no harmony to it. I haven't harmonized it. There is a implicit harmony. Basically, there is the harmony that you expect from hearing it. As with like only chords, like I was playing a little while ago, there's also an implicit melody. You hear the chords and you kind of imagine, but it isn't actually there, and that's good to remember. We will all hear different like implicit sections when it's not there, and that's where the songwriting and the creativity comes in. Your specific approach to how you would do it, well, that one's yours. Do you have questions about this? Okay, cool. So basically just guess and check your way through it on the first try. After you've been able to guess and check your way through writing a song, writing a chord progression with a melody, then start trying to look at... Oh, I erased it. Then start trying to look at tonic, dominant, subdominant relationships, and that should be able to save you some time for a while. And this is going way, way far out, spoilers, but eventually that will cause you to not take enough chances. So you'll have to go back to guess and check in order to get hit at next level. But you're not going to start off that way, right? It just won't work. There's too much to the music theory to have it all in mind unless you've used it a whole lot. So you have to start by guess and check, just so that you know your way from the beginning to the end. You can tell when it's done, you can tell when you're starting, and build up some just like, well, yes, I can write a song. Then you move into, I'm going to write it in a more advanced and conscious way where I know exactly how I did everything, why more things work, and you can build up higher level songs. Then at a certain point, you're not going to be able to rely on the theory because it will just hold you back. It will make you guess good sounding answers too quickly that you don't have to do a lot of work. And then, of course, why have the hobby if you're not working against it and learning something? So you'll have to go back to guess and check method at the end. That'll be what I say about it for now. Let's go to some examples and some practical stuff. All right. Okay, so we're going to try to, I'm going to help you out. I might mostly be quiet while you're writing it, but I'll kind of talk to you. And I just want you to start by just writing something on the board and make a bunch of combinations of C and F and G like I did. Gotcha. And then after you've got a whole bunch, we'll just start testing them out and reviewing them. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, you know what? That's a lot.
Okay.
So usually when I ask students to do this, they just say, I don't know, I can't. And so it looks like I really made a good decision by asking Quan to do it because we've got a whole board full. This is probably more than we need, but let's do this. Let's just start at the beginning of it, and then we will just go through and try to eliminate bad ones. And there's a lot there, so yeah, let's do that. Okay, so before we get started, I'm gonna number these real quick. So, number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and let's start with number 1, CFC, GF, FGC. Oh, wait, no, go to C, yeah. C. Okay, so here's what you did just now was, here's the progression. You played it correct, 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 but then here you just stayed on G. And I think the reason you stayed on G is because you trusted your instinct. I think that if you played that C the exact way that you wrote it on the board in that exact spot, it would sound worse. So I think what you did just now was you just corrected it while you were playing. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
So this time just look at it while you're playing to make sure you play exactly what you wrote. But like I can tell you like 99%, we need to try it with this being a 2 Gs at the end next, and it's gonna sound so much better. But this time play it exact. Didn't it feel like it got to the C too soon?
Oh yeah.
And so here's what I'm thinking. This is a theory, right? But I think these 4 work together as a perfect setup. Starts on tonic, ends on dominant. This is just a perfectly acceptable middle. There's about 10 million melodies that'll fit over that. Here, you start at F and then F, which to the listener kind of says like, slow down, we're building up, right? But then the thing that we're building up to, the dominant chord, just is barely there. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I know a vulgar term for it, but it just doesn't get you, like, it's like it makes you expect a very, very big G chord here, but then you just get a very brief one and back home. The other thing is this C at the end can sometimes be unsatisfying when you hear C at the end and the beginning. Not always, that's not a rule, but in some songs, you really want there to be a chord change when it goes from end to beginning of a pattern. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this time let's try it, but we're gonna make this C a G. So that'll be at the end G and G. G, G, GLHF.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Back to the beginning. Oh wait, hold on. Go back to the beginning because, here, may I play it one time? Is that okay? Yeah. So what we want to do in order to be able to really, really check how you did it, I got one. In order to be able to really check it is that you want to definitely go back to the beginning of the chord progression when you're done so that you hear how the loop sounds. So, okay, here we go.
All right, what do you think about it? You like it? Okay. Well, hold on. Not commenting on my playing of it though. How does it sound as a song? Like when you hear me playing it, or when you hear yourself playing it, can you imagine like what the words or the main melody might be? Does it come to you easily? It doesn't for you? Okay, because that's the thing is a lot of times it's really easy to make a chord progression, right? It just doesn't take that long, as you can see, because you filled up the whole board with them, right? It doesn't take really too long to make a chord progression. But if you can't think of a melody and words that go with it, then what's it really worth, you know? It doesn't help you at all to make a chord progression that you can't think of a melody to go with it. I think I've already been wrong once on this video, right? But I think the reason is that this first half is making people expect something other than this. I think this feels unexpected at the end. I do like ending on G, and I do like going to F here, but I think that the double up doesn't fit with the beginning, and it makes the song feel like it's slowed down a lot. Does that make sense? So something I might try. I don't want to spend too much more time here on this one. I want to go into another example. But here's how I might try to fix this one, is what if it was F, G, F, G? And that way the chords still change frequently, so maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's easier for the audience. I don't know. We're going to try it right now. Does that sound a little bit better to you? And like easier to think of a melody? So, some nonsense words. When the da na 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 da na 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 dun dun na 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 na. When we were just walking and you said you'd done your hand. Oh yeah, okay, so that melody didn't work. Let me try again. When we were just walking and you said da da da. Okay, so my melody doesn't fit that. My melody fits C F C F. Huh. Maybe I change it to C F C F. That's my best incentive, is just get a song out of it, right? Okay, so when we're just walking and do da na 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 na. Oh, so now that would be bad though. It's because if I make this an F, then I have two Fs in a row, and that sounds awful. So anyway, I'm going back and forth with it, but I think you kind of see how I'm working with it now, right? I just play it to see if it sounds good, and then I try to think of something to change. I'm not super methodical about it. I'm mostly guessing and trying things, and I've never liked it when authors make these metaphors, but I'm letting the song take me where it goes. Or if you've listened to George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones guy, talk, and he says, like, there are authors who are like planners, and they plan the whole story, and then there are authors who are like gardeners, and they let the characters take them places. I can't stand those metaphors, but I'm using one now. But to me it means I'm not methodical. I try one thing, and I just keep going from where I'm at. I don't try very frequently to back up and start over. I try to keep going. So
What you think so far?
It's bad.
I kind of agree.
Yeah, there's too many G overlapping. There's 3G and 2G at the same time.
Yeah,
It's
so
just bad.
sorry.
It's just bad.
Yeah, so I this one would take me a minute to really explain why I don't like it. But okay, so it starts on G, right? Nothing actually wrong with that. We can have a song that starts on the dominant. That totally happens, especially in a lot of like classic rock, like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. But the problem is that it does. Well, actually, this is good too. It does G and then it does F, but it does F for a really short amount of time there. And it does G for a good amount of time. If it's going to be double G's, I think it should be double F's here. F, F. And because if it was C, that would be a problem. Because if you did G and then C, which, did you do that ever? You literally never did that, so that's good. Oh, yeah, you did. Number 3, G, C. What's going to happen if you do G and C is that you'll turn G into the tonic and C into the subdominant. And then people will be surprised by the F when they'll start expecting a D there. I tell you what, start number 3, just do G, C, and then see what sounds more natural, F or D. Wait, hold on. Like G, C, and then F. Okay, now same thing, but try G, C, D. Does that you see what I'm talking about there? The G and then C make you expect a D a lot. So anyway, this can get really deep. It's a creative thing, right? And it's a creative thing that you kind of have to play with a lot. Another thing about the 6 one that we were saying is bad is it really also depends on the melody. If you have the right melody that fits it and is really catchy and awesome, or there's something good about it, pretty much any of these can be good given the right circumstances, right? Because it just all comes down to other things. But I think that's pretty much all we're going to say about it today. What do you think? Good? Okay, cool. So just jumping into songwriting stuff. And I hope all of you guys out there like this video and like and subscribe and check out my music on Spotify or any of those other things that play music. Just search William K. Link in description. Bye.